What's up guys, and welcome back to another video on the MF Automotive YouTube channel. And as you are probably aware, the new Acura Integra is stirring up a difference of opinion. Some people either adore it while others not so much. The dislikes were very prevalent in the beginning when Acura first previewed the concept variant to the world, but after they showcased the full-on production version in a plethora of different colors, the initial comments about the styling quickly gave way to more positive feedback. Fast forward to present day, and after all the various outlets have had their go behind the wheel of the reincarnated Integra, the reviews are quite positive for the most part. So what do I think about the whole debacle? Well, I try to look at it from the perspective of a buyer who is seeking a car that delivers the same fun-to-drive nature associated with the Honda Civic Si, while also offering a host of amenities and luxury features in overall a more mature package. Options and amenities that are virtually non-existent on cars in that segment, which is all fine, but with that also comes a big challenge. Due to the similarities between the Honda Civic and the Acura Integra, they share the same underpinnings if you weren't already aware with that. The former does pose a big threat against Acura's iconic nameplate. Or do the German offerings pose more of a threat like the Audi A3, Mercedes A-Class, and BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe, which for the most part in their most basic configuration are priced very similar to the top level Integra. So with that, let's find out which one is best for you. So right off the bat, let's start off with the trim guide pertaining to the Integra. The details are still a bit murky in terms of what specific options are exclusive to what trim level, but I will try my best to mention what we know thus far. The Integra will be available with 4 trim levels at launch. The base, then we have the A-Spec, the A-Spec technology, with the CVT, and finally the A-Spec, which everyone is looking for, the one with the standard transmission, which mind you is only exclusive to this top trim level. So what are some of the tech specs of the Integra? Well, it comes with the same 1.5-liter VTEC turbocharged 4-cylinder engine found under the hood of the new Honda Civic Si, which is good for 201 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. In this application, it can either be had with the CVT or the standard transmission, while on the Honda Civic Si, it can only be had with the standard transmission. 0 to 60 mile an hour time is quoted to be right around the low 7-second mark, with the fuel economy figures being quite similar to what you'll find on the Honda Civic Si, or even a bit better if you opt for the CVT. This leaves us with a bit of a conundrum. See, one of the few reasons to opt for the new Integra, say over the Civic Touring, is due to the additional options which the latter lacks. But if you're kind of forced to choose the top trim level, aren't you better off just sticking with the cheaper Civic? Now, you could make the argument that the Integra not only offers a larger engine than the 1.5 in the Civic, but the brand association also plays a big factor, you know, Honda compared to Acura. Or that you prefer the more aggressive styling of the Integra, which is subjective by the way. And yes, you would be correct in making such a statement, but if you are an individual who doesn't care for the extra power nor about the brand image, then it might make sense to save the extra $2,000 and purchase the Civic Touring, which yes is less powerful, but most likely than not, someone opting for the CVT transmission most likely is wanting a comfortable daily drive and doesn't really care for the performance aspect of it, so the Civic may be the better buy for them. And I just want to make it clear that in no way am I downplaying the Integra and encouraging you to consider the Civic over it, but just want to mention it since it is something to think about. With that, let's move on to some other contenders which Integra buyers are likely to cross up against. Cars like the Mercedes A-Class, Audi A3, and 2 Series Gran Coupe are likely to be the biggest suspects, along with some special mentions like the Volkswagen Golf GTI, Toyota FRS/Subaru BRZ, Subaru Impreza, and Elantra N. All cars that can be equipped with a standard transmission, which alone is quite a feat in today's market. I won't be comparing these options with the Integra in today's episode for a bunch of small reasons and one big reason. So what's that big main reason I was alluding to earlier? And that's the fact that none of these brands that I mentioned before are premium brands. Say what you want about Acura, but they are considered to be a premium brand. So for that reason, I won't be comparing those cars and rather comparing them with the German offerings, which are much more in line with what people are most likely to cross-shop the new Integra against. So let's look at some of the German offerings, starting with the A3, which has a price of just under $35,000 USD or 38,900 Canadian in our market. Then we have the Mercedes, which starts at just under $34,000 USD or 38,000 $49,900 in our market. And finally, the 2 Series Gran Coupe, which starts at just under $36,000 USD. And mind you, these prices exclude any additional fees like destination and handling, as they do with the Integra pricing I mentioned earlier. While the Acura is only available as a front-wheel drive car, the competition here can be had in all-wheel drive form. But the base car is equipped with front-wheel drive, and the all-wheel drive is optional for an additional $3,000 give or take based on which one you go for. Unless you're in Canada, of course, where all-wheel drive is standard right off the bat. So how do they compare powertrain-wise? Well, on the BMW, you get a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder which produces 228 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, good for a quoted 0 to 60 mile-an-hour time of 6.3 seconds, and is mated to an 8-speed Steptronic automatic, which is the only transmission option. Fuel economy is yet to be announced, but current estimates state a 34 mpg figure for both city and highway driving, and the BMW has a 13.2 gallon fuel tank. In terms of amenities, we have things like 17-inch wheels, power folding heated exterior mirrors, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integration, 10-speaker audio system, dynamic cruise control, digital gauge cluster navigation, power driver seat front and rear sensors, and LED headlights. Among other things like push-button start, a moonroof, leather seating, stuff you take for granted when shopping for a car in this segment. And I should mention also that some options may differ based on your region. Next up, we have the Audi A3, which gives you things like a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. The engine produces 201 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque, good for a quoted 0 to 60 mile-an-hour time of 6.6 seconds, and is paired to the 7-speed S-tronic DC automatic, which again is the only transmission option. Fuel economy-wise, it delivers 29 mpg city and 38 mpg out on the highway, with Audi recommending you use regular fuel, and the Audi also having a fuel tank capacity of 13.2 gallons. Amenities on the base car include things like 17-inch wheels, LED headlights, and taillights with their sequential turn signals, heated exterior mirrors, a panoramic roof, lane departure warning, Audi Presense Plus heated front seats, digital instrument cluster, and a 10.1-inch infotainment display. Last but not least, we have the Merc, which lo and behold also offers a 2-liter inline turbocharged 4-cylinder engine producing 188 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque, good for a quoted 0 to 60 mile-an-hour time of 7.1 seconds, and mated to a 7-speed DC automatic transmission, which you guessed it is the only transmission option. Fuel economy-wise, it delivers 24 mpg in the city and 35 mpg out on the highway, with premium fuel being the recommended grade and having a fuel tank capacity of 13.2 gallons. Amenities include things like 17-inch wheels, headlights and taillights which are LED, blind spot assist, a power driver seat with 3-person memory, panorama roof, ambient lighting, heated exterior mirrors, Apple CarPlay with Android Auto integration, a 7-inch infotainment display, and a 7-inch gauge cluster display. So after taking all these figures into account, what entry-level option is best for you or offers the best value? Well, that depends on a bunch of different factors. If you value performance over amenities or efficiency, then the BMW on paper at least seems to be the obvious choice. It puts out the most horsepower and torque figure and the quickest 0 to 60 mile-an-hour time of the bunch, even touting that of the Integra. If you're looking for the most value for your dollar, then the Mercedes may be the car for you. It has the lowest starting price at just under $34,000 USD and offers the most amenities standard. If you're looking for a blend between performance and value, then the Audi A3 may be the better buy, as it sits smack right in the middle of both of them in terms of both pricing and performance. So how does all of this compare to the Integra? Right off the bat, the Integra comes on top for consumers seeking a car with a standard transmission, because none of the competition I mentioned earlier actually offers one. Drivetrain-wise, the Integra is only available in front-wheel drive form, while the competition can be had with all-wheel drive as well. In terms of pricing, the Integra is actually the most expensive out of the bunch at $36,300 USD, but with that, it also sits on top in terms of offered amenities, with things like the heads-up display and adaptive dampers, which are either optional on the competition or not even available. But again, it doesn't matter how many different ways you look at it, the Integra does offer the most amenities for its price tag, compared to the competition, which similarly equipped easily eclipses the $40,000 mark. So in the end, it comes down to your personal preferences. Like I mentioned before, if you value brand reputation over value, then you'll probably end up with one of the German offerings. However, if you value rolling your own gears and cool tech like adaptive dampers, and rev matching, then the Integra is the car for you and probably the one that will end up on your driveway. However, if you're simply after a car that will satisfy daily driver needs, then you may prefer to opt for one of the German offerings or the Civic Touring, like I mentioned earlier, which is also a great one to look at if you're considering the base model Integra with the CVT. But with that, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next episode.